The Dragon Ball franchise is huge, encompassing a wide range of concepts and ideas that take on a role in the plot as the series progresses. These concepts, from the simple to the complex, give the series its essence. Think of the Super Saiyan form and how it constantly changes to keep up with the times, or Capsule Corp, which finds its usefulness to this day. This helps create an incredibly large universe with many things to discover and explain. But on the other hand, just as many ideas are implemented day by day in the current manga serialization, there are other ideas that remain forgotten, having been thought of and discarded or abandoned after it was found that they weren't beneficial to the series. These ideas range from the beginning to the present and have always existed with the objective of being able to create a good and consistent plot. In this video, we're going to see what concepts have been discarded throughout the series, going from minor concepts to concepts that could have changed the course of the story forever, giving fruit to a totally different new plot. Gero and 19. It's known that Akira Toriyama's original plan was to keep androids 19 and 20, aka Dr. Maki Gero, as the main antagonists of the Cell Saga, but in various debates and discussion with his main manga editor at the time, the latter wanted the villains to be modified as he believed they weren't suitable for the role. These modifications gave rise to androids 17 and 18. The two young androids were later replaced by Cell, turning the Cell Saga into something that was modified on the fly, and this is why there are so many new enemies in the arc. However, 17 and 18 remained as antagonists in the future Gohan and Trunks special as the audience grew fond of them, and they returned again in Dragon Ball GT and Super as a key part of the story. Cell was also a concept that recently returned too in the superhero movie featuring the revival of the Red Ribbon Army, to which Toriyama also included winks and references to Maki Gero, though the Doctor himself was not revived. Piccolo's origin. In OG Dragon Ball, Demon King Piccolo was introduced from the very beginning as a demon, the devil himself, and he created new demons by spitting out eggs. At that time in the series, the concept of Namekians and Planet Namek had not yet been introduced, though they later took on great relevance when Dragon Ball Z arrived and so changed the origin of the Demon King Piccolo's son, Piccolo Jr. This character, both in the stories of the Elder Guru and in the original Dragon Ball Z serialization and manga, is shown to be an alien from another planet who separated from his good part, Kami. This completely discontinued the concept of him being a demon and being the son of the devil as he had been in OG Dragon Ball, so the devilish and demonic roots that Piccolo would originally have were discarded and replaced by the concept of Namekians. Future Trunks' timeline. Since the Goku Black arc, where Zeno erases the original timeline of the series in which Future Trunks lived, we've not had any mention of the character after returning to the timeline restored by Whis. The inclusion of Trunks as a possible ally for the Tournament of Power was not even considered. The same thing happened in Dragon Ball Z's Buu Saga. We lost track of Future Trunks and began to focus on present Trunks as a child. In the recent Dragon Ball Super arc and movie, we can see Goten and Trunks interact as teenagers and take on important roles again, which gives us the hint that we'll probably never see Future Trunks cooperate with our heroes again, and the idea of expanding his timeline has been discarded. Saiyan Tails and Oozaru power. While Dragon Ball GT knew how to take advantage of this concept by reintroducing it and giving it a good reason to come back, the Oozaru powers coming from Saiyan Tails is something that the series as a whole dropped after the Saiyan Saga, when all the Saiyans lost their tails and the new generation were born without them. While they used to be of the utmost importance and relevance to the series by giving Saiyan warriors exceptional potential, tails are now an archaic concept abandoned in time by Toriyama and Toyotaro. What remains of it are flashbacks from the past, like what happens in Granola's arc with Bardock and the Saiyans on Planet Cereal, or the remembrance of the Oozaru in the form of Ikari as in Broly in Dragon Ball Super, who no longer has a tail but can use the Oozaru's power still without transforming. Goten and Trunks' role. During the Buu arc, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks showed that Toriyama wanted the next generation of Saiyans to take the leading role after Goku died in the Cell Saga. Speaking mainly of the children, Goku himself admits to not killing Majin Buu so Goten and Trunks could take care of him, since they should defend the Earth while he's away. This was reflected in Gotenks' attempts to defeat Super Buu after training in the hyperbolic time chamber and his being absorbed by Buu, again needing Goku's intervention. After the events of the arc, Goten and Trunks didn't dedicate themselves to training again and lived their lives as average teenagers until the current Dragon Ball Super arc, where they take on the role of heroes of the city. This led to totally discarding the idea of both children as protectors of the Earth thanks to the power developments throughout the Majin Buu arc, with the two even being discarded as a team option prior to the Tournament of Power. Bardock's original story. Originally, Bardock was always shown and portrayed as a cruel and ruthless Saiyan who didn't give much importance to his family and was ashamed that his son Kakarot was a low-class warrior just like him. He was also always a symbol of revenge for the series, defeating Frieza's army once they wiped out his squad completely and finally challenging the Emperor himself in what would be his last stand. With the arrival of Dragon Ball Minus and the later Dragon Ball Super, the original story of Kakarot's father was discarded and rewritten, his personality becoming more affectionate, noble, and deeply loving of his family, although without without losing his Saiyan fighting nature. This is demonstrated in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, where he sends Goku to Earth for his safety, not because of his weak combat power as per the original story. In the Granola arc, we were again shown a flashback of this new Bardock who decided to protect the planet Cereal from Elect's forces and defended both Monaito and the little Granola from death at the hands of Gas. Chiaotzu's relevance in the series. Once one of the most important characters in the series, Chiaotzu fell into oblivion after the Saiyan saga and later in Dragon Ball Super. A very important character in OGDB and the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, the potential that he once had was cut short by the new scales of power and appearances of characters with a greater plot relevancy, with Chiaotzu ultimately being completely overshadowed and losing the role he once had in the Z Warriors cast. Gohan's protagonism. As Akira Toriyama confirms, even in the manga itself, at the end of the Cell saga and the beginning of the Buu saga, Gohan was supposed to take the leading role of the series thanks to the events that occurred in the Cell games. That's why until the beginning of the Tenkaichi Budokai and Goku's momentary return to life thanks to Uranai Baba, the saga focuses on Gohan's life as a high school student. The idea was abandoned by Toriyama after realizing that Gohan wasn't suitable to star in the series as was planned due to his lack of interest in fighting and facing stronger opponents like Goku had. That's why it was decided that Goku would return to his original role and Gohan would continue his life away from fighting until the arrival of Dragon Ball Super, although always staying within the main cast of characters. Despite this, Gohan would end Buu's arc being the strongest unfused character thanks to having his potential unleashed by his Supreme Elder Kai. The concept was totally abandoned until the Tournament of Power, where Piccolo decided to train Gohan to recover the power that he had lost thanks to putting martial arts aside for his studies and work. Zenkai Boost. The fact that a Saiyan becomes incredibly stronger after taking deadly damage and surviving has been one of the most significant characteristics of the race throughout the series. However, the idea of evolution that Toriyama planned for the Saiyans fell into disuse thanks to the idea that everyone has a limit to their Zenkai ability that they can develop over time. The Frieza saga was the last moment where a significant use of the Zenkai was made, as both Goku and Vegeta received an extremely important Zenkai that raised their power levels to unthinkable heights. Having pretty much hit their ceilings, Zenkais after this point were relatively small and unimportant. That's why as the Cell saga developed, the concept of the Zenkai ability gradually fell into disuse and is currently irrelevant to the plot, receiving little mention in Dragon Ball Super. Another reason why this form of growth was quickly forgotten about is the rise of the Super Saiyan transformation and its powered up variations, which took the role of being the new form of evolution of the warrior race, even reaching the level of the gods. Hard training surpasses biology at this point. Majin Buu as an important ally. After Mr. Buu split from his pure evil form, he became Hercule's best friend and one of the strongest allies during the Buu arc. After that, in the Battle of Gods movie, Mr. Buu became merely a cute villain character whose usefulness in Dragon Ball Super has been next to nothing. During the Universe 6 tournament, Buu falls asleep during the entrance exam, which makes it impossible for him to enter. And again in the Tournament of Power, after training his physical form and gaining great power, he again does not participate due to sleepiness and is replaced by Frieza. This has taken away the only opportunities Buu has had to regain relevance in the plot, and his importance has been forgotten by Toriyama and the fandom of the series. However, he was useful during the Moro arc via the Great Lord of Lords inside of him. Tien and Yamcha. Being two of the most important characters in the history of Dragon Ball, Tien and Yamcha currently have almost zero relevance to the plot and have been losing their prominence and usefulness to the point that none of them managed to achieve what their life purposes once were. In Tien's case, after his defeat at the hands of Goku in the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, he vowed to surpass him with arduous training, but thanks to the monstrous advancement in the Saiyan's power and the series scale of powers, this never came to fruition. What is true about Tien is that he's had his chances to shine in each of the arcs of Z and even in Dragon Ball Super, being one of those recruited for the Tournament of Power. We can't say the same for Yamcha, who's always sought a faithful partner and to become a master of martial arts. He's currently one of the weaker characters in the cast and continues to find no love since his last stellar appearance in the Cell saga, though he has recently fought space prisoners in the Moro arc. Despite that, Yamcha is another one of the characters whose development has fallen into oblivion thanks to the immense advancement and the little competition he would be to emerging opponents. Mind reading powers. In the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, it's shown through Jackie Chun that certain martial arts masters possess the ability to read minds. Goku confirms this upon his arrival to Namek, learning everything that happened with Frieza by reading Krillin's mind. This has never happened again in the series, so it became another idea that Toriyama dismissed or was simply forgotten about. Hell. Initially, Akira Toriyama introduced Hell as a place where evil characters go after dying, losing their corporeal forms and their soul being purified before being reincarnated as a new living being. This idea of Hell was discarded when the anime created its own version of Hell where the enemies got along with each other, their bodies didn't vanish, and their souls remained with. This idea became the basis for future productions such as Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, where Frieza possesses his body and soul and is tortured by teddy bears instead of following the original concept of Hell that Toriyama had imposed in his work, with his evil, stubborn character leading him to be hard to reincarnate. Twin universes. The concept of a multiverse multiverse was first introduced in Battle of Gods and later expanded on in Dragon Ball Super. This brought with it a sub-concept of twin universes, two universes which were alternate versions of each other containing the same races, planets, and natures. The only example that we have of this is Universe 6 and Universe 7. The concept of twin universes has never been explored again after this event, and no further examples have been shown with no universal similarities being seen. That was all for this video. We hope you liked it. What did you think about these discarded ideas? Were they irrelevant, or would some of them change the series completely? If you like the information in this video, make sure to check the videos out on the screen too. We've got plenty of awesome content and you'll definitely find more information in them that you didn't know about the series and its background. Be sure to subscribe so you can always find new and exciting videos here on DB Hype. Until next time, peace.